From Hollywood, California, this is SMPTE 2016 Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hello and welcome to SMPTE 2016 Live. I'm your host Ryan Salazar with continuing coverage of the 2016 Annual Technical Conference and Exhibition at the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Today we have Todor Fay, the CEO of NewBlue. How you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you guys are quite an innovative company, and you're creating all these amazing partnerships with companies like New Tech, and you integrate with all these different pieces of software.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do.
Well, more than anything else, what we do is graphics. We have a history of producing software for doing and GPU software for doing transitions, effects, all kinds of things like that. But what really has come out to be the core of what the company's about is doing titling, on-air graphics, things like that. So if you go on to the desktop, you'll see that we're bundled in Avid Media Composer, Grass Valley Edius, and quite a few products producing the titling stuff. But what's really exciting for us these days is bringing this into the on-air world and even into the automated production. So you'll see we're working with Telestream, we're working with New Tech for Wirecast and TriCaster for doing live graphics, working with NDI, for example. 16 channels of NDI, which is amazing what NDI can let you do. It's just fun. And then even things like automated production, we're working with the Telestream's enterprise group with Post-Producer for automated production, and we're bringing in the graphics component for that.
Wow, so it's amazing because I've seen your software, I've used your software before, and we had some presentations online. And,
I'm honored.
And it was, thank you, we were pretty blown away. But the live graphic stuff is a whole different beast than rendering and creating that stuff after the fact in post.
Yes.
So how many languages do you guys cover, your software?
That's actually a great question because it's not as trivial as we thought it was, because you think if you implement Unicode, you've got it covered. But then you find out that in the Middle East, languages that are what are called bidirectional, Hebrew, Arabic, they require that the actual text be going forwards and backwards. And that's not a trivial problem when you think about when you're flying in animating your graphics, they need to be able to go backwards and forwards. So we support all the bidirectional languages. And then another sort of technicality is something called diacritics. So if you look at languages like Hindi, Tamil, Arabic with expressions, they have all these little marks above them. And if you don't do them, and they're not in the Unicode, they don't look right. So we support everything. There are something like 4,000 written languages in this world, so I can't promise you we do them all, but that's our goal.
Wow, that's cool. So, all right, so what types of data are you able to connect to and display? Like, for example, let's say you're covering a sports game. Can you somehow get the score into the system?
That's a really fun place. And for that, we're starting to work with some other companies. There's a company called Sportscast, and Sportscast provides a piece of hardware that plugs into the scoreboard, and it takes the live score and feeds it into the computer. And we're now bundling with them a piece of software that helps you have live scoreboards, whether you're working with Wirecast, TriCaster, vMix, roll-ins, different devices. We're producing the live sports graphics now connected into the Sportscast product, which is really cool.
So can you integrate RSS feeds, things like that too, or how does that work?
That's coming.
Okay, that's very cool. All right, so how does NewBlue's titling technology bring together the live and post world of production?
Live and post world of production. So that's a really fun place, and it's really weird because things are very siloed today. So I had this really fun meeting about a year ago with CNBC, with Steve Fastic, Steve Klang. CNBC does something like 4,000 graphics a day, not include as charts, text, headshots, all kinds of stuff, not including all the live ticker tape stuff. So they obviously massively automated. But they still have challenges because the technologies are siloed to work in different things for different things. So they'll be using, for their live Mad Money, they'll do a live shoot and they'll be using Chirons and Brainstorms for doing all the graphics. And then when they want to go and edit it afterwards, they can't just simply use whatever is in their software, which, by the way, actually are using Grass Valley or Avid, so they'd be using our software. But the graphics were all generated with Chirons. So they actually have to have the Chiron operator go, if they want to make any corrections to anything, has to go and regenerate them and restream them, capture them, and put the clips back in there to do it. So it's a very convoluted workflow. But imagine, where we believe it should go, and I think anybody would agree it's kind of obvious when you think about it, is that when you do a live shoot, it should generate an edit decision list. It should generate all the metadata about all the graphics that were done, and then you should just bring it back up in Premiere, Avid, whatever you want, and there it is all laid out, and you can continue working it there. And that's what we really believe in, is where things should go.
So automating production, it sounds like you guys have automated a lot of the live process then.
Well, okay, so for
live graphics.
Yeah, in the case of live graphics, it's all about connecting into data. So the example of Sportscast, you mentioned RSS feeds, that's where we know that we need to continue to grow. We can read CSV files and stuff, but there's just a whole wide world of how you can bring the data in, because graphics really is about visualization. And it's anything from sports to Twitter feeds. Kind of a out there place is that we're testing some software out with Twitch streamers. And Twitch streamers are bringing in data from Twitter. They're bringing in, like, who just made a donation on StreamTip. And it's really critical that they have these gorgeous graphics coming in, because everybody who's watching gets excited, because you use graphics to inform and tell your story.
Well, what's interesting is, a lot of switchers that you buy right out of the box, or systems that have graphics, it's very basic.
Yes.
And the fact that you guys are integrating with those systems now is bringing the best of both worlds.
Well, thank you. This is something that we really learned when we were working on the desktop, because the same thing holds true. If you go to Adobe Premiere, Sony Vegas, Avid title tool, they all have a basic titling tool, and they tend to be great, for putting out text, nice, text, 2D text, and it's still. But then moving up from there becomes an enormous piece of development. But if you are a plugin company, you can create something that will run on all of them. And so that is something that philosophically we learned from that world, where they all encourage and nurture plugin companies to really add the quality. So you have companies like Red Giant, Boris, GenArts, creating specialized things that are amortized off of all these platforms. So we've taken that same philosophy into the live streaming world, where we're working with different companies and figuring out how we can provide that component that plugs in. And they've all been just outstanding companies to work with.
All right, again, Todor Fay, CEO of NewBlue, thank you so much for spending some time with us at the 2016 Annual Technical Conference and Exhibition for SMPTE. Thank you so much and have a great day.
It's my pleasure.